Thank you. It's always a pleasure. I worked with Future Group for 8 years. And every time I come back to MMR, and now of course I'm in Welspun, we do have a retail presence, but every time I come back to MMR, it's like feeling like coming back to family. And we were just talking, and he was sharing, everyone's from retail. I don't know what I'm doing here, you know. So I think we share the sentiment, and we promise to keep it lively because I think our session is going to be the most challenging. This is just after lunch and after all the accolades, so we'll take it on us to keep you awake and engaged. So thank you, Meenakshi, thank you, Dr. Lawrence, for having me over. It's always such a pleasure. And if you do read about the kind of work Saptarshi has been doing, and it's fabulous, and we had a call earlier, and I was intrigued because I had certain notions in my mind that if you want to run a forward-thinking HR organization, if you want to have the best practice for talent management or to build a leadership pipeline, you really need to be associated with a large organization, right? Do you all agree? Yes, no? That's a myth. You know, today when we interview management trainees and graduate engineering trainees, even in our organization, a lot of them say, hey, we want to work for a big brand. We want to go and work there because we will have career mobility. We will know what we're doing next 3 years. I'll have opportunities. And that's where, when we were exchanging notes, and you know, my question to you, Saptarshi, is one of the first things is that, is talent management only done effectively in large conglomerate? Is that a myth or is it a fact?
Thank you so much. I think a little bit about what I do, because I come from a totally different sector. I'm from BFSI. So I am the Chief People Officer for Motilal Oswal Private Equity. So we are a PE player. Before this, I was with Bajaj Allianz General Insurance in Pune for 16 years. So retail is new to me. Retail sales is not, okay? Because at the end of the day, these were both very, very retail sales-driven organizations. As a PE player, we invest in 4 sectors. We're into consumer, we're into BFSI, we're into pharma, and we're into what we like to call as niche manufacturing. And we are today active with about 28 organizations across 4 funds. And my role is to work with the promoters of all these organizations on all HR practices. So it could be to sort of hire CXOs, it could be to relook at their OD structures, their talent management, their performance management processes, look at, let's say, ESOP implementations, HRMS implementations, so on and so forth. And this has given me such a beautiful, entry into the retail space, because that's one of the most manpower intensive, and from the HR point of view, one of the most challenging sectors as well, because I'll just give a few examples of the companies we are in. So we have, all of you would have heard of a company called Cycle Agarbatti, NRRS Group, right? Mysore-based company. In insurance, you know, a lot of our sales guys used to say, "Hum insurance बेच रहे हैं, अगरबत्ती नहीं बेच रहे हैं." And then you realize that you're a 1,400 crore company with a 20+% EBITDA margin. Not only selling agarbattis, they're also now into scented candles, car perfumes, diffusers. They're exporting to Walmart in the US, and they're bigger than what you would imagine them to be. 75-year-old company, 3rd generation promoter. The grandson, his grandfather started the company. Then you have something like a Lal Sweets. It's a company we've just invested in. Single promoter, mithai bechta hai. Mysore Pak, just that one brand. Every time you go to Bangalore airport, next time you pick up that Mysore Pak of Lal Sweets, Bangalore airport does 1 crore per month for them. Okay, so it is phenomenal, and this is a 1st generation promoter. Then you have Kushal's fashion jewelry, already at 92 stores, going to be opening about 200 by the end of the year. Why I named 3 companies with different, backgrounds? Cycle, 75-year-old company. Lal, just about an 8-year-old company. Both single promoters. And Kushal's 5 cousin brothers who run the entire show. One thing that's common is that, of course, we've invested in them. But the second thing is that the appetite and the value for talent that we've seen in the last maybe 5-6 years, maybe post-COVID something changed, but it's phenomenal. they are so keen on ensuring that they want to build an organization of good professionals. They are so keen on ensuring that, when this company goes public 7, 8 years down the line, we have names that investors can relate to. And that's such a phenomenal area for an outsider. And these are all comparatively small companies, right? We're talking of companies doing anything between 200 to 1200, 1400 crores of business. Not small in that sense, but yeah, when we talk of, big organizations, they are more than keen. One of the companies, just one point before we move to the next question. One of the companies is this company in Morbi in Gujarat called Simpolo. They are into tiles and ceramics. So the promoter of Simpolo, this Jitu Bhai from Morbi, Gujarat, tells me one day that, Saptai, mujhe na ye company Google banana hai. I want this to be known as the Google in terms of workplace practices. You do what you have to do. I want this company to be a world-class company. That company acquired an Italian tiles company. Italian tiles are known to be the best in the world. They set up the Italian tiles plant in Morbi, and today they export Italian tiles made in Morbi to Italy. Phenomenal stories, right? And that is only possible when it's not just that one promoter, but also a proper organization that they're setting up under them. And they're more than happy to spend on talent.
Right. So, honestly, when we look at attracting the best of talent in today's VUCA and BANI world, it is difficult, right? Even for large conglomerates, for large retail organizations, it's not easy to get the best of talent. So while, of course, we hear you, and that's why it's a fireside chat, we hear you. How do you convince good talent to join an organization which is so niche, which probably is not out there? There is really no, in terms of, unless you share stories like you did, how do you convince talent to join them? What is the growth opportunity you can promise them when they come into roles like these?
Sure. So I think also depending on the revenue, the scale of the organization, obviously every role comes with a certain budget. Today, I think one of the things that I realized is that most of the companies that we are invested in don't have head HRs. Ironically, 2, 3 of them are GPTW certified, sort of makes us question about our worth. But the CXO roles itself range from anything from 25 lakhs to 1.5, 2 crores. Now, earlier the mindset used to be that we would be needing to convince the promoters to look at good talent. Recently, one of the promoters of a company in Delhi, this is called Asian Shoes. It's a shoe manufacturing company. They make shoes in the range of 350 rupees to 2,000 rupees. They're typically, targeting tier 2 and 3 towns across the country. But can you believe who the brand ambassador is? For a shoe company, the brand ambassador is MS Dhoni. And Dhoni is an amazing guy. When he endorses a brand, he really endorses it. He wears Asian shoes for any press conference that he goes for any IPL event that he goes for. So, when we talk to candidates, I think the one thing is that the promoters also ask us that what is that we need to do to get the best talent in the market. We want the biggest brands. We want our sales head to be from the best of companies across the country. So the storytelling becomes such an important part of this all. And of course, it's not about in terms of CTC really talking about how much we can offer, but also to give that growth story to these candidates. Can we look at a good guy from mid-management of a multinational consumer company and lure that person to come and be a top management, a CXO of a smaller company, giving that vision that you're going to grow with this company. So of course your ESOPs come in, your all sort of those attractive LTIPs come in, but most importantly selling them that story that we've invested in this company. We are the outsider here. If we believe in this company, so should you. I think that helps. And I think the PE space has also evolved because we see that making a big difference in many candidates' mind as well.
Right. And interestingly, you mentioned that most of these organizations are GPTW certified. So in terms of HR processes and HR strategy plans, what are some of the things that these organizations are willing to invest to nurture this talent that you would probably getting into their organization?
I think first, maybe a lot on the policies. We had, and it's a tough sector, no doubt. It's a mix of blue collar and white collar. Saturdays off, when we mentioned it, let's say 5 years back, they used to, they looked at us like, you're our investors and you're asking us to give Saturdays off. It's not like that anymore in terms of policies as well. In Motilal Oswal, we have a brilliant policy. It's called the switch off policy. All our emails get blocked between 7:30 p.m. to 8 a.m. All employees up to a vice president level, which is 98% of your workforce, including Saturdays, Sundays, you do not have access to your emails. Now, this policy, when it got implemented, it was implemented directly by Motilal Oswal sir himself, saying that, you know what, we want to do this. And this in no way is to attract people from consumer into BFSI. I'm just giving an example. But a lot of our sales heads, a lot of our CEOs actually said, you know what, revenue nahi hoga, ye nahi hoga, wo nahi hoga. And MO sir actually said this, that the stock market is where we make our earning from, which is open from 9:30 to 3:30. I'm giving you 4 more hours after that. If you're not able to finish a job by then and you still need your emails, then this is an issue in the way that you work. And it was such a simple thing. And today we have the whole organization for the last 1 year working like this, without any loss in revenue. I can tell you that confidently. So
I think a lot of people will be sending you their resume after this.
No, I mean, but we would actually love to replicate these in our portfolio companies.
Absolutely.
Saying that, you know what, if we can do this, anyone can. Without, and no way as HR folks are we saying that we want to compromise on productivity. We want to earn our seat on that boardroom, right? So I think that we are clear on. Any proposal, any policy should only look at higher productivity levels without compromising on costs.
Right, and I think your role is so unique, and and thank you, Lawrence and Meenakshi, for helping me partner in this conversation with Saptarshi, because there's so much I learned from what you do. In this sense, it's so interesting, right? Because you're not really doing HR partnering for the core organization, but you're doing like a plug-and-play model and sort of enabling all these companies that their organization is invested in to help them drive business profitability, to drive EBITDA growth, etc. So tell us a few, of course you shared a few, but how is it that when you acquire an organization, what are some of the 2-3 key highlights, and which I think will be a great takeaway for the organizations, that how do you align your HR strategy to business outcome and drive growth? How do you align it? What have you done with these organizations that has worked?
Sure, I think one is that, when we look at organizations and we look at investing in them, from the HR point of view, we are very keen on looking at employee productivity enhancements, and it really helps to actually sit down with the CEO or with the promoter and actually discuss those numbers. And it really helps if HR folks are champions in terms of looking at revenue numbers, productivities, EBITDA margins. It really builds your credibility on the table as well. And so for example, we have a company in Calcutta called Ganesh Cranes. Anyone from Calcutta would have heard of this brand. It's a aate gehu ka company hai. They do about 800-900 crores. Very old company. It's a household name back in Bengal, and they're bigger than many of the bigger players and bigger pan-India players. So the promoter there was very keen on saying that he wants to expand to the other markets in East, Bihar, Jharkhand, Orissa, all of that. So we actually helped them build the entire sales productivity model, sales incentive schemes, to ensure that, and also to ensure that you have 70-80% of your employees earning those incentives. Because many times those incentive schemes just fall flat because great scheme on paper, but only 30% of your employees are earning incentives. 70% aren't. That leads to higher attrition, that leads to poor recruitments. The whole, changes goes for a toss. So to look at scientific schemes, sales incentive schemes, help build productivity. We are even pushing diversity. These companies, I can tell you, we started very simply with gender, and I can tell you, so many companies had not thought that plant mein females ho hi nahi sakte, and then we had one portfolio company who successfully demonstrated it, and suddenly you have so many more organizations saying, why not? We can do this, and of course, I think what also happens is when you have promoters, what makes us stands out from other PE players is that we invest only in Indian entrepreneurs. Every single company that we've invested in are Indian promoters. And I think they're really riding the wave of the Make in India story. I see a lot of pride in almost all these organizations, especially the promoters, because they've built something on their own. We respect that what you've been able to build is yours. We've just come in as investors to help you grow this further. So whatever input that comes from us is only incremental for them. And that just works beautifully. And I can see and it gives you such a kick when you actually see a company's ABC project kickoff and actually help in either cost saving or revenue enhancement. And you even have a small part to play in that. And in many of the companies, when you're hiring the HR heads, we're actually getting folks who are able to bring that value to the table. We don't want to be the department which is known only for engagement anymore, right? So.
Exactly. And I think, I just want to share with you, because Welspun is largely into manufacturing plants, and this is so interesting, and this is a great case study, because we set up a plant in Telangana, Hyderabad, and we wanted to get women into the workforce at the blue-collar sector, in the plant shop floor. And we said, okay, let's get them to learn to drive forklifts. Okay, understand a forklift, right, which picks up all the stuff. Now, these women had not even ridden a cycle in their lives before. So, we went from training them to working with them, getting them a driving license, because to drive a forklift, you need a driver's license. And today, they are one of the happiest. So they come in their sari and they wear a helmet, and it's so cool to watch them. So again, another myth busted, in that in large sectors or manufacturing plants, you can't get women at every level. And I know I went off track, but I'm always a champion for diversity, so I couldn't help share that. Right, so the other thing, what is important for all of us, this conversation will not be, we won't be fair to the audience if we don't talk about digitization and the role HR is playing in sort of standardizing processes. So when you take over, or when you invest in organization and you sort of work with them on their processes, what is their mindset towards digitization change? How is it that when you want to scale, right? So for example, this organization which acquired the Italian company, or which partnered with the Italian company, how are you using digitization to scale and better HR practices, so HR folks can actually have time to do real, one-on-one connection rather than pushing Excel sheets?
Yeah. I think obviously world-class HRMS platforms, no doubt. There are so many of them today, so it also helps. And I know some of them are here, but I'm saying there are so many HRMS platforms that are available today. I think the sponsorship comes in from the fact that many of these companies understand the need for technology today. Forget HR, even when it comes to, let's say, the plant, when it comes to looking at sales force management, all of it. The amount of manpower that they need to invest in driving regular day-to-day HR operational processes, vis-a-vis showing them that, what sort of technology implementation helps them. Again, a Gujarat-based company called the Pan Group, just a 6-7-year-old company. They're into the personal hygiene space. So they're into baby diapers, adult diapers, sanitary napkins, so on and so forth. They set up their plant about 7-8 years back in Rajkot, and they did not want to compromise on the quality of the products, which is at par with all your international brands. And they have a huge sales force. There were 3,500 folks in a typical GT model across the country. And the promoter really wanted that. I want to know at any given point in time, how many employees are active, what has been the business, clocked in yesterday. I should be able to know that today. Most of them were going through the old process of, having your HR team, sales heads collected, then wo Excel make presentation bana ke har roz bhej rahe the. There was a whole MIS team. That was not analytics, that is MIS. A whole team of 15 people sitting and doing that. And we were able to bring that technology on board, where, everything's on the phone today. It's not nuclear science, it's just showing them that this is possible. And at times they're not aware that, we have tech that allows them to do that.
Absolutely. And even with the team right now, what we're doing is we're developing a DEI dashboard, so which tells across 35,000 people how many women, which location, what's, and I know the magic of dashboards. I think we're almost time, but I want to ask you this before we end the session. In this future of work, in whatever is coming next, we don't know what's coming next. from your experience and your diverse, industry exposure to so many promoters that you're working with, which is really the real India, which you're promoting, which is people from Indian entrepreneurs making it big. For all the young folks here, what are the 3 things that you will give as a takeaway that any HR leader planning to have a career in the future should possess or should start preparing for?
I can think of 2 things. Definitely, one is that know your business. I think that's something as HR folks. I know there's been a lot of focus in that over the last few years, but I don't think that's still. I don't think any B school today teaches. Maybe there are some, but I don't know how much time are we really spending in understanding business as an HR majors. One is that. Second is the flexibility. HR folks, especially, and we see a lot of good pedigree B school students who are coming in HR in a lot of organizations who don't want to dirty their hands anymore. They want to get into management roles or strategy roles or, from day one. I think I'm 40 and I really think that I spent my first 10 years traveling the country. I was in a company which allowed me to do that, go to the grassroots level. It's very cliche to say that know the pulse of your employees, but you need to know the pulse of your employees. So for anyone, I don't think there are too many youngsters here. Most of the people are very senior here, but I think somewhere, I don't know if we lose focus of that basic thing of, understanding your business, yes, understanding your people, that's what we are here for. Companies keep saying chatbot, HR chatbots and moving away a lot of our processes to that. That should only be transactional discussions. Otherwise, you should be there for your employees. And I think that's my 2 cents.
Wonderful. So I think I'd like to bring this discussion to a close, and thank you, Saptarshi, for such enlightening conversation with me today. So 3 takeaways that I'm moving out with. One is that know your business if you want to really stand apart or set yourself apart as an HR leader. 2, also know your people. And I think I'd like to add the 3 is use digitization to free up your time to really do meaningful HR work. Right? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And I do promise I speak a lot more slowly. We had 20 minutes, so I sound like Shankar Mahadevan, but thank you so much.